I realized I was renting my own life, expensive and no longer mine. Today is a story about changing course. 4 takeaways you can use right away. Value over flash. Shrink to get free. Soft transition. And schedule boundaries. I'll start where most changes begin. The moment things quietly stop working. It wasn't a crash. It was a slow leak. Coffee went cold on my desk. I read the same email 3 times and still missed the point. Nights stretched thin. I counted ceiling lines instead of sheep. Sunday felt like a hallway to Monday. My body kept asking for a pause. I didn't give it. I stopped noticing small, good things. The way my kid laughed at dinner. The sky over the parking lot at 6 p.m. A friend called. I sent it to voicemail, promised to call back later, and didn't. Work bled into the living room. Laptop on the couch. Phone on the nightstand. Just 10 more minutes turned into an hour. I told myself this was a season. Then the season didn't end. The praise kept coming. Title, bonus, nice words in meetings. But none of it tucked me in at night. I felt successful in public and missing in private. That's when a simple question landed. If this is winning, why do I feel so gone? I wrote that line on a sticky note. I didn't solve anything that day, but I stopped pretending it was fine. That was the first honest inch toward change. I started counting what the job really cost, not the paycheck math, the life math. How many dinners I microwaved at 9 p.m. How many Little League innings I missed by 5 minutes. How many library books I returned unopened. How many I'm almost done turned into sorry I fell asleep. I made a quiet list. Sleep, thin. Patience, thinner. Laughter, rare. Phone battery, always at 12% because I never stopped checking it. I ran a different spreadsheet. Not revenue, but time. Commute, email, meeting drift, weekend cleanup, hours that didn't build anything I could hold. I called it time debt, and the interest felt brutal. Praise didn't offset it. A title can't tuck a kid into bed. A bonus doesn't slow your breathing at 2 a.m. Great work never washed a sink full of dishes waiting past midnight. One rainy Tuesday, I sat in the car after work with the engine off. No podcast, no calls, just the drum of water on the roof. I asked a plain question. What would enough look like? Not more. Enough. A picture came into focus. Home by dinner most nights. 8 hours of sleep more often than not. Money that covers the basics, plus a small cushion. Work I can leave at the door. It wasn't a grand vision. It was a smaller, truer one. And once I named it, the old story sounded louder than the rain. Something had to give, and this time, it wouldn't be me. I didn't quit that week. I ran tests. I turned off email after 7 p.m. I put the laptop in a closet, not on the couch. I let the phone die at night and charged it in the kitchen. I cooked simple: eggs, rice, a pan of roasted veggies. It wasn't fancy. It was enough. I canceled 2 subscriptions I barely used. I packed lunch 3 days in a row. I wrote down every expense for 1 week, pen on paper. Seeing the numbers calmed me more than the paycheck ever did. I tried a different commute, left 15 minutes earlier, parked farther, walked the last block. The sky looked bigger when I wasn't sprinting to the door. I breathed slower. I noticed. I set one boundary at work: no meetings over lunch. I ate outside on a bench, even when it was chilly. 15 quiet minutes felt like a new room in my day. I tested enough hours. I left on time once, then twice. No one fired me. The world didn't crack. The panic in my chest lost a little volume. On Saturday, I asked a diner if they needed weekend help. "Come shadow for a shift," the manager said. I showed up in clean sneakers, tied an apron, carried water, tired feet, clear head. I slept like a kid that night. These weren't big moves. They were proof points. Every small experiment said the same thing. There's a sturdier life on the other side of more. I wrote one sentence in my notebook: I choose enough. Not more praise, not a bigger title. Enough sleep, enough time at the table, enough money to cover the basics and breathe. I circled 3 rules. Rule 1, value over flash. If a choice didn't make me healthier, kinder, or more present, I'd pass. I didn't owe anyone a shiny explanation. Rule 2, shrink to get free. Cut what I didn't use. Trade convenience that steals hours for simple routines that give them back. Fewer bills, fewer decisions, fewer late-night scrolls. Rule 3, a soft transition. Test before I leap. Build a 3 to 6 month cushion. Keep bridges intact. Learn the new rhythm. then decide. I added one boundary I could measure. Work stays at work. When I close the door, I belong to my life again. No, just 10 more minutes. The next week, I practice saying no thanks without a paragraph after it. I practiced leaving on time without apologizing. I practiced being proud of quiet wins, dinner at 6, lights out by 10. Nothing dramatic happened. The sky didn't open, but the noise inside me softened, like a radio turned down. I looked at the sticky note again. I choose enough. It felt less like a wish and more like a plan. Part 1 was the reckoning. Now came the decision. If this is the life I want, what job belongs inside it? The questions stopped being theory. They started touching real days, real bills, real faces at my table. If I chose enough, I had to choose it in public. Part 1 was the look in the mirror. Part 2 would be the step through the door. I picked a quiet Wednesday. No crisis, no fireworks. Just a calendar block that read, talk. I met my manager in a small room with a squeaky chair. I'd practiced in the car, hands on the wheel, breathing slow. I'm grateful for what I've learned, I began, and I'm changing direction. Silence held for 3 beats. Then the usual questions. Are you sure? Is something wrong? What would make you stay? I told the truth I could carry. I need a simpler rhythm. I'm moving to part-time service work while I reset. I didn't overshare. I didn't apologize. I asked for a clean handoff and offered to document everything. We chose an end date that honored both of us. In the elevator, my legs felt like new wood, not weak, untested. I stood in the lobby and watched people scan badges, eyes on the turnstiles. I'd been one of them yesterday. Today, I stepped outside without checking my phone. I called my partner from the sidewalk. It's real, I said. We didn't talk about status or titles. We talked about dinner and bedtime and Saturday mornings. That afternoon, I walked into the diner again. Can you start with weekend shifts? The manager asked. Yes, I said. I can start this week. At home, I opened a fresh spreadsheet. 3 columns: essentials, buffer, extras, rent, groceries, insurance under essentials. 1 modest line for buffer. Extras got what was left, not the other way around. I set 2 non-negotiables on the fridge. Home by dinner most nights. Phone sleeps in the kitchen every night. I expected regret to creep in. It didn't. What showed up was space. Space to cook rice. Space to sit through a whole story from a small voice across the table. Space to breathe without checking a notification. Saying it out loud didn't make me smaller. It made the day wider. I wasn't chasing a bigger life. I was fitting my life back to size. I needed a filter I could trust when my ego got loud. 3 questions on a sticky note. Does this make me healthier? Does this bring me closer to my people? Does this move me toward the life I want? I used it everywhere. A new phone? The old one still called my mom. Value said later. Flash said now. I chose later. Work clothes, 2 sturdy shirts, 1 good pair of shoes, no logos, no story to sell. They did the job. Lunch? I stopped paying for speed. Rice, eggs, leftovers. 10 quiet minutes outside. I came back clearer than coffee ever made me. Commute? I left earlier, drove slower, saved gas, saved nerves. Arrived with a heartbeat I could live with. Social plans? I said yes to a walk and no to a loud bar. I wanted faces I could hear and stories I could finish. Even praise went through the filter. An old colleague floated a quick project. Good rate, late nights, vague scope. Would it make me healthier? No. Closer to my people? No. Toward my life? Not even close. I wrote, "Thanks, I'm not available," and closed the tab. Sometimes value looked like spending. A better pillow, so I'd sleep. An extra bus ticket so my dad could visit. A cast iron pan that will outlast me. These weren't shiny. They were steady. Friends asked if I missed the perks. The catered lunches, the travel, the buzz. I missed the story more than the things. The part of me that liked being important. But value made me honest. Important to whom? To people clapping in a room I didn't live in? At the diner, a regular learned my name. "Good to see you," he said, handing me a book he'd finished. No badge, no slide deck, just a small exchange that felt human and enough. Value over flash didn't make my world smaller. It made it clearer. I could see what fed me and what drained me. I could choose without a speech. The filter stayed on the fridge. It looked plain. It worked every time. I didn't need more hustle. I needed fewer bills. Fixed costs were the cage. So I started with the bars. I called the internet provider, asked for the basic plan, kept my voice calm. They dropped the price in 3 minutes. I canceled what I didn't use. 2 subscriptions, 1 free trial that wasn't free. A gym I never saw after January. My phone plan went down 1 tier. It's still called Everyone I Love. I made a simple menu: rice, beans, eggs, soup, 1 big cook on Sunday, leftovers that held through Wednesday, food that didn't need an app to arrive. I sold things I was storing instead of using. A jacket for a life I didn't live. Gear for a hobby I stopped pretending to enjoy. Cash in, dust out. The closet could breathe again. So could I. I drew 3 buckets on paper: essentials, buffer, extras, rent, groceries. Insurance stayed in essentials. Buffer got a name: Quiet Fund. Goal: 3 months, then 6. Extras got what remained. Some weeks that was $10. I put it in anyway. I learned new routes: library before bookstore, park before mall, thermos before coffee line, walk before ride, when weather allowed. I tackled little leaks, late fees, automatic renewals, convenience charges, set alerts, paid on time, saved small, often. Small added up. I renegotiated 1 big thing. My lease was due. I asked about a smaller unit, same building, a view of a tree instead of the street. 1 room less, $100 less. I counted what that bought. 2 weeks of groceries. Easy. Friends worried I was downgrading. I wasn't. I was right-sizing. Room for what we used. Money for what we valued. Time that didn't need rescuing. At the diner, extra hours came and went. I took the ones that fit the life, not just the budget. More pay is loud. More presence is steady. I picked steady. The quiet fund grew. Slow, honest inches. 50 here, 20 there. I watched the number and felt my shoulders drop. I gave myself a rule. Spend where life gets better, not busier. A good pillow. Socks that don't quit. Oil changes on time, so the old car keeps going. These weren't treats. They were guardrails. Some nights I felt the pull of old habits. Add to cart, upgrade, prove. I closed the tab and opened a window. Listened to the street. stood in a kitchen that was finally quiet. Shrinking didn't make me small. It made space. Space to choose work I could leave at the door. Space to say yes to a Saturday walk. Space to sleep without math in my head. Freedom wasn't a raise. It was a bill I no longer owed. One by one, I lowered the bars. The cage loosened. I could step through. I needed lines other people could see. At home, the phone slept in the kitchen. No quick checks in bed. I bought a $10 alarm clock and got my nights back. On the fridge, 2 blocks lived in marker. Dinner at 6, lights out by 10. If work asked, I pointed to the blocks. Those are taken, I said, calm, not sorry. At the diner, I set my availability. Weekends, yes. Weeknights, only 2. Can you cover clothes on Thursday? Not this week, I answered. I have family plans. Family plans meant tacos and homework and a board game. It counted. I stopped writing paragraphs to justify no. One clear sentence carried more respect than 5 nervous ones. No thanks. Doesn't fit my schedule. Send, close tab, breathe. I cleaned my calendar like a closet. Kept the hangers that held real life. School pickup, a walk with a friend, the budget check-in. I let the rest go. Not ghosting, declining. Work stayed at work. If a thought followed me home, I wrote it on a sticky note, left it by the door, and picked it up in the morning. The note waited. My people didn't have to. I practiced being reachable on my terms. Text, not Slack. Daytime, not late night. If it was urgent, they could call. Almost nothing was. Boundaries felt awkward at first, like new shoes, stiff at the heel, good for the miles. By week 2, the blisters were gone. Friends tested the edges. Come out, it's just one drink. I'm doing an early walk instead, I said. They teased. I smiled. Morning me said thank you. I kept a simple rule. If I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else. Choose on purpose. The strangest part? Life didn't shrink. It sharpened. I was present where my feet were. Table, shift, sidewalk. With values clear, costs trimmed, and first lines drawn, the next step had room to land. Part 3 would be the real move, a soft transition I could live with, and a schedule that let me come home. Now, the question wasn't why, it was how. Not a leap, a bridge. Part 2 cleared the noise. Part 3 would teach my days a new rhythm. I wrote a plan I could live with, not brag about. Step 1. Keep bridges. I finished projects clean, left notes anyone could follow, said thank you without sarcasm. People remember the exit more than the entrance. Step 2. Build a cushion. 3 to 6 months of basics, rent, food, insurance. I called it the quiet fund. Every diner shift fed it first. Extras waited their turn. Step 3. Define the trial. Part-time at the diner for 90 days. Fixed availability. Fixed budget. Measure sleep, mood, and dinner at home rate. If the numbers held, I'd extend. If not, I'd adjust. Step 4. Time boxes. Work hours were a container, not a suggestion. Open, do the work, close. No mystery bleed into the couch. Step 5. One skill at a time. Carry 3 plates. Learn the POS. Remember names. Service work isn't unskilled. It's human. I treated it like craft, not fallback. Step 6. A weekly review. Sunday night, 15 minutes. What worked? What dragged? Where did money, time, or energy leak? Patch one leak each week, not all of them at once. I told 2 trusted people the plan. Hold me to the boring parts, I asked. They did. Did you put money in the quiet fund? Did you leave on time? Small accountability, big calm. I set a quit date for the old role that honored both sides. Not rushed, not delayed. A date that let me train my replacement and sleep. The first week felt strange. Mornings were quiet. I made oatmeal. I folded laundry at noon without a headset on. Guilt knocked. I let it pass. At the diner, my feet ached. My head didn't. Guests had names, not ticket numbers. A regular asked about my day and waited for the answer. At home, dinner landed at 6. The phone stayed in the kitchen. We ate, laughed, and cleaned up together. Nothing epic. Everything essential. This wasn't a cliff jump. It was a series of small, honest steps. Each one tested, each one paid for, all pointing in the same direction. A life I could carry without dropping myself. I built a day I could repeat. Wake at 7, stretch, oatmeal, Coffee at the table. Phone still asleep in the kitchen. 10 quiet minutes to plan the shifts and meals. Simple, visible, doable. Blocks on paper, not in my head. Morning life block, work block, evening life block. Each with a start and a stop. A tiny stack of habits held the frame. Make the bed after coffee. Set rice before work. Lay out tomorrow's clothes before dishes. Small loops. Big calm. Commute. On purpose. Leave 10 minutes early. Walk the last block. Arrive with a heartbeat I can live with. No sprint, no apology. At the diner, I ran a personal playbook. Names first. Water before orders. Check back once, then again. Breathe when the ticket rail fills. One table at a time, not all of them at once. I marked the mid-shift reset. 2 minutes by the back door. Drink water. Roll shoulders. Look at the sky, even if it's a sliver. Money followed the rhythm. Tips to the quiet fund before anything else. Groceries on Wednesdays. Gas on Fridays. Leftovers became lunches on purpose, not by accident. I guarded the handoff home. Shoes off, phone down, lights soft. Music instead of headlines. We ate at 6. We told simple stories and let them land. The review stayed small and steady. Sleep hours, dinner at home count, mood notes. Green, yellow, or red. No essays. 2 greens meant keep going. A red meant one tweak next week. People asked how it felt. Less dramatic than they expected. More honest than I expected. Like a song with fewer instruments and better timing. The new rhythm didn't make life perfect. It made it carryable. I wasn't chasing balance. I was keeping beat. And for the first time in a long time, I could hear the music. 90 days isn't forever. It's enough to see what's real. I opened the notebook to the first page. Sleep. Dinner at home. Mood. Quiet fund. 4 lines to grade. Sleep first. Week 1 averaged 6 hours. By week 12, most nights hit 7 and change. Not perfect. Solid. Dreams came back. So did mornings. Dinner at home count. Used to be 2 a week, rushed and late. Now it hovered at 5. Tacos, soup, eggs on rice. Nothing fancy, all together. Mood line, green, yellow, or red, no essays. The early grid had more yellow than I wanted. By the last row, green stacked like tiles. Not because life got easy, because life got clear. Quiet fund. I wrote the number in pen, not pencil. 3 months of basics, then a little more. 50 here, 20 there. A random windfall I didn't spend. I felt my shoulders drop when I closed the page. I checked the leaks. Late fees, gone. Subscription drift, plugged. Convenience charges, caught before they stuck. The small stuff finally added up in my favor. Work skills, too. I could carry 3 plates without thinking. I learned the regulars' names and how they took coffee. I handled a Saturday rush without holding my breath. Service work is a craft. I was learning it with both hands. Temptations knocked. A recruiter called with a shiny role in a long commute. Old me would have chased it. New me ran it through the filter. Health? No. Closer to mine, people? No. Toward the life I want? Not even close. Thanks for thinking of me, I wrote. I'm not available. Regrets, fewer than I feared. I missed the tidy story, the instant status, but I didn't miss the elevator stomach or Sunday dread. Praise used to be a drug. Now it's a spice. Nice, not needed. We stress tested the boundaries. A friend asked for a late favor. I said yes to tomorrow afternoon instead of midnight. They were fine. I went to bed on time. Morning me said thank you. We also celebrated small. A thrifted jacket that fit. A gas tank filled before the light. A call with my dad that didn't feel rushed. These used to be extras. Now they're the point. I wrote a line at the bottom of the page. Keep going, same pace. 90 days taught me something balance never did. I don't need to juggle a dozen flaming pins. I need a steady beat and room to breathe. The plan wasn't a stunt. It was a life I could repeat. I closed the notebook, washed the dishes, set rice for tomorrow. The next chapter could wait until morning. For once, I wasn't behind. 90 days became a decision, not a detour. I booked a meeting with the diner manager. I'd like to keep this schedule, I said. 2 weeknights, weekends as needed. Home by dinner most days. We wrote it down. Clear beats clever. I sent a final note to my old team. Thank you, clean docs, an open line for questions. No speeches about finding myself. Just respect returned. I updated the budget to match the life, not the fantasy. Essentials first, quiet fun steady, extras last. A small raise came through. I didn't inflate the lifestyle. I let the margin breathe. At home, our calendar stopped squeaking. Dinner at 6 was normal, not heroic. Homework had a time and a table. Weekends felt like weekends again. I kept the filter on the fridge. Health, people, direction. When choices showed up, I ran them through. Most answers were quiet, nearly boring. That's how I knew they were right. I added one upgrade that paid for itself. Rest. Lights out by 10, most nights. The world kept spinning without me. Morning me handled more than midnight me ever could. Status still knocked sometimes. An invite to speak. A quick contract with late nights tucked in the fine print. I looked at the life I'd built and said, not this season. Saying no didn't shrink me. It kept me whole. I noticed new kinds of wins. A regular remembered my name before I remembered his. My kid asked me to coach a practice because I was actually home. The car made a weird noise. I had time to handle it. None of this trends. All of it matters. The plan wasn't shiny. It was sturdy. Fewer moving parts, fewer fires, more room for people and sleep. I wrote one last line under the checkpoint. This isn't an experiment anymore. Part 3 taught me how to move without breaking myself. Part 4 would be simpler still. Holding the line, deepening the habits, and choosing over and over a life that fits. The trial became the way. The rhythm held. What was once a plan turned into days you could live with. There wasn't a big finale, just a steady yes to what fits. Part 3 taught the steps. The ending is simple. Keep them. You didn't win by getting bigger. You won by fitting your life to size. Value over flash. You ask 3 plain questions and listen to the answers. Health, people, direction. If a choice feeds them, it's in. If not, it's out. Shrink to get free. Fewer bills, fewer leaks, fewer late-night scrolls. A quiet fund that lets you breathe before you decide. Soft transitions, not stunts. You test, measure, adjust. Bridges intact. Dignity intact. Visible boundaries. Work at work. Home at home. Phone in the kitchen. Dinner at 6. Lights out by 10. Most nights. This isn't about proving anything. It's about hearing yourself again. About reading a bedtime story without thinking about email. About a sky you notice on the walk from the car. Some will ask if you miss the old shine. Maybe the story, not the hours. But the trade is honest. Less buzz, more presence. You didn't step down, you stepped in. If you're listening and standing at your own fork, try this. Live 1 week the way you believe is right. Count sleep, dinners, laughs. If the numbers tell the truth, right size one more bill, add one more month to the cushion, and keep your end time sacred. Quiet confidence isn't loud. It's a life that carries you, not the other way around. Keep the beat. Choose on purpose. Come home on time. If this helped, there's more like it in quiet confidence, career and purpose stories. Take what helps, leave the rest.